Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to impress people, the less interested they become? You talk more, you over-explain, you try to sound smart or charming. But instead of attracting others, you push them away without even knowing it. Because attraction, real attraction, has nothing to do with performing. It has everything to do with presence. Stoic philosophy teaches a simple truth. When your mind is calm, your words carry weight. And sometimes it takes only 6 words to shift the entire energy of a conversation. 6 words that make people feel understood, respected, and drawn toward you without effort. Today, we're going to break down those 6 words, how they work, why they're powerful, and the Stoic principle that makes them magnetic. So take a breath, settle in, and if you're ready to step into calm confidence, comment below. Calm confidence 1. The Stoic principle 1. The Stoic principle behind attraction and detraction. Most people believe attraction is about saying the right thing, looking a certain way, or performing a version of themselves they hope others will find impressive. They chase approval. They try to appear interesting, and they speak to fill the silence because silence makes them nervous. But to the Stoics, this approach is backward. You do not attract people by becoming louder, flashier, or more entertaining. You attract them by becoming centered. Attraction begins inside the mind long before it shows up in your words. The Stoics understood something modern psychology is now confirming. People are naturally drawn to emotional stability. They gravitate toward those who know who they are, not those who try to prove it. That is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, who you are internally shapes what others feel around you. When your thoughts are frantic, your presence feels frantic. When your mind is insecure, your energy feels insecure. When you seek validation, your words sound like requests. But when your mind is calm and grounded, your presence communicates something powerful without you needing to force anything. That is the foundation of all attraction. Calm confidence. Think about the people you'd be naturally drawn to. Co-workers, strangers, mentors, romantic interests. They weren't necessarily the loudest in the room or the best looking or the most charismatic. They were the ones who made you feel steady. They carried themselves with an easy kind of certainty. They didn't need to dominate the room because their presence spoke for them. That is the Stoic way. This is why the 6 phrases we'll explore later work so effectively. It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's because these 6 word sets come from a place of composure, clarity, and emotional control. Exactly the qualities people instinctively trust. Attraction in its purest form is a response to emotional safety. As we move into each word set, remember this. The power is not in the phrase itself. The power is in the mind you speak it from. Attraction is not a performance. It is a consequence of inner order. And when you master that, people don't just hear you, they feel you. 2 word set 1. 2 word set number 1. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Most people think attraction is about talking more. They try to impress by sharing stories, listing their achievements, showing off their knowledge, or sharing their own experiences. They assume the more they say, the more interesting they appear. But human psychology works the opposite way. People feel drawn to those who make them feel interesting. This is why the phrase, "Tell me more about that," is one of the most magnetic sentences you can use. It seems simple, it sounds ordinary, but when said with a calm Stoic presence, it becomes a powerful signal. A signal that you are not trying to dominate the conversation, not trying to perform, not trying to center everything around yourself. You are giving the other person space to exist, to unfold, to be seen. And being seen is only of the deepest social needs human beings have. Think about the last time you talked with someone and they genuinely wanted to understand your thoughts. Not waiting for their turn to speak, not rushing you, not trying to prove they were smarter, but really listening. You probably walked away thinking, I like this person. I'm not even sure why, but I like them. That reaction is not accidental. It's psychological. And it's exactly why this phrase works. Tell me more about that shifts the focus away from you and toward the other person's inner world. It permits them to express their thoughts, their fears, their excitement, and their perspective. It tells them you're not just hearing, you're listening. Not just responding, but receiving. Stoicism teaches this kind of restraint and humility, the ability to listen without rushing to judgment. Let's look at a real-life scenario. Imagine you're on a date. Most people would feel pressure to perform, to talk fast, to fill silence, to say something clever. But someone rooted in Stoic doesn't chase moments. They create space. So when the other person shares mastery, instead of reacting with a long response or shifting the focus, you simply ask, tell me more about that. Suddenly, their guard lowers. They open up. The conversation deepens, and more importantly, you become a mirror where others see the best parts of themselves reflected. But the real power of this phrase lies in what it communicates. It says, I'm not in a rush. I'm genuinely here. What you're saying matters. You matter. And people are naturally deeply attracted to those who make them feel valued. There's another layer. When you use this phrase, you also gain insight. People often reveal their intentions, their motives, their honesty, and their character. When invited to speak more, you learn who they really are while they simply think they are sharing a story. In this way, the phrase becomes both a bridge and a filter. Tell me more about that places you in the rarest category. The person who sees, the person who hears, the person who pays attention. And in a world starving for genuine attention, that is magnetic. 3. Word set number 2. What makes you say that? Set 2. What makes you say that? When most people hear something they don't like, they react instantly. Someone makes a comment, throws a criticism, or expresses an unexpected opinion, and the natural response is to defend, to argue, to explain, to push back. But the moment you react too quickly, you reveal something about yourself, that your emotions are in control, not you. The Stoics approach these moments differently. They believe that the first impulse is often the least reliable, and that true strength appears not in reaction, but in restraint. And that is why the phrase, what makes you say that, is one of the most powerful tools you can use in any conversation. It's calm. It's neutral. It's controlled. And yet, it shifts the entire dynamic in your favor. Imagine you're at work and someone says, I'm not sure your idea is going to work. Most people jump into defense mode immediately. Why not? It makes perfect sense. Or they respond with irritation, sarcasm, or frustration. But a Stoic-minded person would pause, breathe, and simply ask, what makes you say that? That single question changes everything. You're no longer the one being judged. You become the one gathering information. You're no longer reacting. You're leading the conversation. You're no longer defending. You're inviting clarity. Psychologically, this question forces the other person to slow down. They must explain their intent instead of hiding behind a quick comment or emotional reaction. It moves the conversation from tension to understanding, from chaos to structure. Now picture using this in a romantic situation. Someone says, you seem distant today. Most people instantly deny it. No, I'm fine. But you, grounded, calm, centered, simply ask, what makes you say that? The effect is immediate. Instead of escalating emotion, you open a door. You give the other person room to express themselves. You show that you're not threatened, not insecure, not defensive. That alone makes you far more attractive than any smooth line or clever reply ever could. This question also reveals people's true motives. Sometimes they're concerned. Sometimes they're projecting. Sometimes they're confused. Sometimes they're trying to provoke you, but they cannot hide the truth once you ask them to explain their reasoning. When they talk more, they expose more. Their emotions, their intentions, their insecurities or their misunderstandings. You gain clarity while staying in complete control of your state of mind. The deeper power of this phrase is emotional composure. Most people trust those who remain calm under pressure. When you answer criticism with maturity, it shows intelligence. When you answer a disagreement with curiosity, it shows confidence. And confidence, the quiet, unshakable kind, is always attractive. People respect the one who stays calm. People trust the one who seeks understanding. People remember the one who doesn't lose themselves in firmament. What makes you say that isn't just a phrase? It's a philosophy. Be curious, not reactive. Be steady, not shaken. Be the one who leads the tone, not the one controlled by it. 4. Word set. Birth. 4. Word set number 3. I understand why you'd feel that way. I understand why you'd feel that way. Most people handle conflict poorly. When Simeon expresses frustration, disappointment, or discomfort, the instinct is to defend. It acknowledges the other person's emotional reality without surrendering your own. It doesn't mean you agree. It doesn't mean you apologize. It doesn't mean you accept blames. It simply means you recognize that their feelings exist and that those feelings have a reason, even if you don't share it. Validation is not agreement. Validation is emotional clarity. And human beings crave clarity more than victory. Imagine someone says to you, I felt ignored in the conversation earlier. Most people immediately fire back. I wasn't ignoring you. I was just busy. Or worse, you're overreacting. Every defensive response increases tension, fuels misunderstanding, and pushes the relationship deeper into emotional chaos. But a Stoic-minded reply sounds like this. I understand why you'd feel that way. In that moment, something shifts. The other person's nervous system relaxes. Their emotional guard drops. Their mind moves from attack mode into explanation mode. You've removed the battle and replaced it with understanding. This is the foundation of mature communication. Why is this phrase so attractive? Because emotional safety is one of the most desirable traits in human connection. People are drawn to those who can remain calm in moments of conflict, who can listen without collapsing, who can hold space for uncomfortable emotions without becoming overwhelmed. When you say, I understand why you'd feel that way, you're sending a subtle message. I can handle intensity. I don't fear emotion. I'm grounded enough to stay present. And that level of composure is powerful. Here's a real-world example. You're in a relationship and your partner says, "Ithered when you didn't text me back." A defensive person reacts instantly. I was busy. You always assume the worst. But a grounded person says, understand why you'd feel that way. Now the partner feels seen instead of dismissed. The conversation softens. You've taken the heat out of the fire without extinguishing the honesty. From that position of calm, you can't share your side without escalating tension. This phrase is also extremely effective in professional settings. If a colleague accuses you unfairly or expresses frustration, acknowledging their perspective before correcting the facts signals maturity. Leaders use this phrase because it reduces resistance. Critics expect pushback. They don't expect understanding. And that surprise alone can de-escalate an entire situation. But for this phrase to work, your tone must match your intention. If said sarcastically, impatiently, or mechanically, it becomes dismissive. When said calmly, slowly, with grounded presence, it becomes transformative. It works because it shows emotional intelligence. It works because it shows strength. It works because it shows restraint. It works because it shows you are not controlled by ego, and ego is the true enemy of connection. Attraction thrives in emotional maturity. People want to be near individuals who can handle storms without becoming storms themselves. And this phrase, simple, calm, and steady, signals exactly that. It tells the world, I can hear Yao without losing myself. I can hold conflict without breaking. I can understand without agreeing. 5 word set M4. 5. Word set number 4. Take your time, I'm here. Take your time. I'm here. There is something quietly powerful about a person who doesn't rush, who doesn't pressure, who doesn't fold under the pace of someone else's emotions. In a world where everyone reacts instantly, speaks instantly, judges, and demands instant answers, the phrase, take your time, I'm here becomes a breath of fresh air, a moment of calm in a conversation that might otherwise spiral. The sentence is not just comforting. It is stabilizing. It is grounding. It is attractive because it communicates something deeper than patience. It communicates presence. Most people don't realize how rare emotional presence is. Many listen while planning what to say next. Many pretend to stay calm while internally rushing the other person's process. Many show up physically but disappear mentally. But when someone feels your real presence, slow, steady, unrushed, it changes the entire emotional atmosphere. Stoicism teaches that inner calm is not passive. It is deliberate strength. When you say, take your time, I'm here, you embody that strength. You signal that you are not controlled by urgency, not intimidated by emotion, and not driven by discomfort. You're settled. You're composed. You're anchored. And people are naturally drawn to anyone who remains anchored when emotions rise. Imagine someone close to you is upset. Their breathing is fast. Their voice is shaky. Their words come out broken or scattered. Most people respond by trying to fix the problem immediately. What happened? Calm down. Tell me now. But those responses create pressure. They push. They accelerate. They tighten themament. A stoic-minded response, however, sounds like, take your time, I'm here. Suddenly, the emotional storm slows down. Their breathing softens. Their thoughts begin to organize. They feel supported, not pushed. They feel safe, not judged. And safety is one of the most powerful forms of attraction that exists. Humans bond through the feeling of safety, not excitement. Thrill fades, novelty fades, looks fade. But emotional safety, that is unforgettable. This phrase also works in situations beyond emotional distress. In conversations involving vulnerability, hesitation, or uncertainty, saying, take your time, I'm here, sends a signal that you're not in a rush to jump to conclusions or force answers. You're willing to hold space. Holding space is an advanced emotional skill, one that shows maturity, patience, and depth. In the workplace, imagine someone struggling to articulate an idea during a meeting. Instead of interrupting them or finishing their sentence, you simply say, take your time. I'm here. Immediately, the pressure drops. They regain confidence. They feel respected. And by giving others space to find their clarity, you naturally become someone admire and trust. This phrase is also incredibly powerful in romantic dynamics. Modern dating is full of anxiety, performance, and fear of judgment. When someone senses that you are not rushing their emotions or thoughts, they relax into you. You become the calm in the chaos, a rare and magnetic position. But there is an important boundary. This phrase is not about self-sacrifice. It's not about letting someone dump their emotions endlessly. It's about providing space, not absorbing chaos. The Stoic principle here is very clear. You can support someone without surrendering yourself. Saying, take your time, I'm here, doesn't mean you're responsible for fixing them. It means you're grounded enough not to personalize their storm, and that grounded energy is exactly what helps them calm down. People remember the ones who stay steady. People trust ones who don't rush them. People are drawn to the ones who can sit with discomfort without fleeing. This phrase tells the world, I don't need to control this moment. I don't need to rush your process. I'm present, and presence is now. And in the Stoic view, presence truly is the highest form of attraction. 6 Word set 5. Let me make sure I understand. There are few things more attractive and more rare than clarity. Not charm, not performance, not clever words. Clarity. People spend most of their conversations asking things, reacting to things they misheard, or defending themselves against meanings that were never intended. Misunderstanding is the root of countless conflicts, broken trust, lost opportunities, and unnecessary emotional tension. But Stoicism teaches something radically simple. Slow down the moment before it controls you. And that is exactly what phrase, "Let me make sure I understand," does. This sentence stops misinterpretation in its tracks. It tells the other person that you value accuracy over ego, connection over speed, truth over assumptions. It shows maturity, it shows self-control, it shows leadership. And all three are profoundly attractive. When you say, "Let me make sure I understand," you are reactively announcing that you're not here to win the argument. You're here to understand reality. Most people rush to defend themselves. Most rush to speak. Most rush to bear right, but the Stoic-minded person pauses to confirm the truth. Imagine you're in a disagreement and someone throws a harsh interpretation at you. "So you just don't care about my feelings?" Most people push back. "That's not what I meant. You're twisting my words. You're being dramatic." Those reactive replies escalate the conflict and damage the connection. But a calm, grounded person simply says, "Let me make sure I understand." Now, instead of reacting emotionally, you're asking for clarity. You're inviting the other person to slow down, articulate their feelings, and separate facts from interpretations. People soften when they feel someone is genuinely trying to understand them. The emotional temperature drops. The conversation becomes human again instead of confrontational. This phrase is also powerful at work. If a coworker gives feedback or raises a concern, saying, "Let me make sure I..." Now look at dating. Imagine someone tells you, "I felt a little uncomfortable last night." Many people jump into justification mode. But when you respond with, "Let me make sure I understand," something changes. You're signaling that you're not afraid of uncomfortable feelings, not afraid of depth, not afraid of honesty. You're showing that you want truth, even if it's messy. That level of emotional steadiness is extremely attractive. It communicates, "I can handle real conversations. You don't need to hide or disguise anything around me." And there's another hidden advantage. The more clearly you understand someone's thoughts, the more clearly you can see their character. This phrase allows you to gather information with calm precision. It prevents you from reacting to ghosts, emotions, or accusations that were never fully explained. To use this phrase effectively, your tone must be slow, grounded, and genuinely curious. No sarcasm, no annoyance, no defensiveness, just quiet clarity. Then after you say it, pause. Let the silence work. Let the other person find their words. Let them reveal what's underneath. Because that's where the real truth is. Under the first reaction, under the first accusation, under the first emotion. And when you approach conversations this way, something incredible happens. People begin to trust you. Not because you're perfect, not because you're charming, but because you listen with intention and respond with intelligence. "Let me make sure I understand," tells the world. I value truth more than ego. I choose clarity over conflict. I respond, I don't react. And that is the kind of energy people remember. That is the kind of energy people are drawn to. 7.7. Word set number 6. I appreciate you sharing that. Word set. Mare 6. I appreciate you sharing that there is a moment in every conversation when someone risks honesty. When they reveal something vulnerable, uncomfortable, emotional, or deeply personal. Most people don't handle that moment well. They change the subject. They minimize the feeling. They joke it away. Or they immediately shift the focus back to themselves. But the Stoic-minded person does something different. They honor themament. They acknowledge the courage. They slow the space between words and say with complete presence, "I appreciate sharing that." This phrase is simple, but it carries weight. It tells the other person, "I see the effort you just made. I recognize the risk behind your honesty. You're safe talking to me." Think about how many times someone has heard something personal with you about their past, their fears, their insecurities, their mistakes, and their response they got was shallow. "It's fine. Don't worry about it." It's not a big deal, or worse, a lecture, a correction, or unsolicited advice. Most people are not trained to handle vulnerability, but Stoicism teaches presence, calm, and respect, especially in moments where emotions run deeper. Now imagine someone tells you something heavy. "I've been feeling overwhelmedly," or something personal. "I don't usually talk about this, but," or something vulnerable. "I'm afraid I messed everything up." The average person jumps to fixing, explaining, advising, or analyzing. They try to offer solutions because they're uncomfortable with emotional openness. But you grounded, centered, stoic, respond with, "I appreciate you sharing that." Immediately the atmosphere changes. There's no shame, no pressure, no judgment, just recognition. This phrase also activates one of the strongest psychological principles in human communication: reciprocal vulnerability. When someone feels safe opening up around you, they naturally feel more connected to you. They trust you more. They respect you more. They feel closer to you. And closeness is the foundation of all attraction. Deeper than charm, deeper than charisma, deeper than appearance. Saying, "I appreciate you sharing that," also protects the conversation from becoming reactive. Instead of responding emotionally or defensively, you hold steady. You show that you're not overwhelmed by what they said. You're not afraid of emotion. You're not trying to control the situation. You're just present. This phrase also opens the door for a deeper connection. After saying it, you may continue with something like, "What made you decide to share that today?" Or, "How has that been affecting you?" Yet even without follow-up questions, the power of the phrase stands on its own. It says, "I'm listening. I'm not going anywhere. Your truth is safe here." And people remember that. People crave that. People are drawn to that. Because in a world where everyone talks, very few listen. In a world where everyone reacts, very few stay centered. In a world where everyone protects their ego, very few honor someone else's truth. This phrase tells the world, "I don't fear depth. I welcome honesty. I respect vulnerability." That is the kind of energy that attracts not just attention, but loyalty, trust, admiration, and genuine connection. 8. The Stoic Integration. 8. Stoic Integration. Why these word sets work? These 6 word sets actually work by now. You've seen each of the 6 word sets. They look simple. They seem gentle. Nothing about them appears aggressive, manipulative, or theatrical. And yet, every one of them has a profound effect on how people respond to you emotionally, psychologically, and socially. Why? Because these phrases function on principles much older than modern psychology. They work because they align with something Stoics understood thousands of years ago. People are not drawn to words. They are drawn to states of mind. Anyone can memorize a sentence. Few can embody the energy behind it. And it is the energy that attracts. To understand why these 6 phrases are so powerful, you have to look beneath the words and examine the traits they reveal. The first is composure. Every one of these word sets forces you to pause, breathe, and respond with intention. Whether you're asking, "What makes you say that?" or offering, "Take your time. I'm here," you're signaling that you are not controlled by the moment. You're not reacting out of fear, ego, or discomfort. Your centeredness becomes a stabilizing force in the interaction. The second trait these phrases reveal is curiosity without judgment. Tell me more about that. Let me make sure I understand. What makes you say that? All three show a desire to understand the world before acting on it. People instinctively trust those who seek clarity instead of defending themselves. They feel safer with someone who listens first and speaks second, because it shouts intelligence, patience, and humility. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." These phrases embody that principle. You run at imposing assumptions. You are collecting truth. The third trait is emotional safety. I understand why you'd feel that way. I appreciate you sharing that. These are not just polite responses. They are signals of emotional maturity. They reassure people that their inner experiences are not going to be dismissed, rejected, or punished. And that safety creates deep attraction. People carry emotional wounds from their families, past relationships, workplaces, and friendships. When you speak with understanding and gratitude instead of judgment, they feel something rare, peace. And peace is unforgettable. The fourth trait is presence, one of the purest Stoic virtues. Stoicism is not about being cold or detached. It's about being fully in the moment without letting fear or desire distort your response. Take your time. I'm here is the verbal form of presence. Tell me more about that. I appreciate you sharing that. Presence is quiet. Presence is steady. Presence is powerful. The fifth trait these phrases reveal is ego strength, not arrogance, not dominance, not pretending to be bothered. True ego strength is the ability to stay grounded when someone disagrees, criticizes, or express emotion. Most people collapse into defensiveness or explode into aggression. But when you remain calm and open, you communicate something rare, confidence without insecurity, and that is deeply attractive. Each of these phrases is also a filter. They reveal character, both yours and theirs. Someone manipulative will struggle when you ask, "What makes you say that?" Someone honest will open up when you say, "I appreciate you sharing that." Someone overwhelmed will relax when you say, "Take your time. I'm here." These word sets tell you who people are before you. Decide how much access you want to give them. Attraction has never been about clever lines, perfect timing, or conclusion treeing to impress anyone. It has always been about the state of mind you bring into each moment, the steadiness behind your words, the calm behind your presence, the clarity behind your intentions. These 6 word sets are not magic tricks. They are mirrors of who you choose to be. When you say, "Tell me more about that," you show presence. When you ask, "What makes you say that?" you show composure. When you say, "I understand why you'd feel that way," you show maturity. When you offer, "Take your time. I'm here," you show stability. When you say, "Let me make sure I understand," you show intelligence. And when you say, "I appreciate you